Welcome, dear viewers, to Creepy Crescendo, where spine-chilling tales come to life. I am your guide through the shadows, and tonight, we embark on a journey through the darkest recesses of the unknown. Our story unfolds on a desolate road, where a passenger bus, helmed by the seasoned driver Mario, ventures into a night filled with unexplained horrors. Buckle up as we traverse the haunted woods and face the malevolent spirits that haunt the path. Will Mario and his passengers escape the clutches of the supernatural, or will they be forever entwined with the shadows that lurk in the abyss? Join us on this hair-raising ride as we unveil the mysteries of the night and shadows of the haunted road. I am your narrator, and this is Creepy Crescendo. The night was ink black, and the moon hid behind thick clouds that hung ominously in the sky. The only source of light on the desolate road was the flickering headlights of the passenger bus as it sailed through the darkness. The bus, a rickety old thing with worn-out seats and creaking joints, was carrying over 20 passengers on a journey that should have been routine. Little did they know that this night would be etched into their memories as the night they would never forget. Among the passengers was Mario, the bus driver, a middle-aged man with a salt and pepper beard that framed a face etched with the weariness of countless hours on the road. He had been driving the same route for years, and the passengers had grown accustomed to his calm demeanor and the rhythmic hum of the engine. As the bus rumbled along the dark road, the passengers were mostly quiet, each lost in their thoughts or engrossed in their electronic devices. The occasional flicker of a phone screen illuminated the dimly lit interior, casting eerie shadows on the faces of those on board. The first hint that something was amiss came when the bus entered a dense forested area, the trees looming over the road like silent sentinels. The air inside the bus grew heavy, and Mario felt a shiver run down his spine. He shook off the unease, attributing it to the natural creepiness of the isolated road. The bus continued its journey through the woods, and an unsettling stillness settled over the passengers. Suddenly, the headlights flickered, plunging the bus into momentary darkness. Gasps and murmurs spread through the cabin as the passengers exchanged uneasy glances. Mario, his grip tightening on the steering wheel, muttered to himself, "Just a glitch. Happens sometimes." The headlights flickered again, and this time they stayed off for a few heart-stopping seconds. When they came back on, the passengers let out a collective sigh of relief. But their relief was short-lived. As the bus trundled along, strange shapes began to emerge from the darkness. Shadows danced on the edge of the road, contorting into unnatural forms that seemed to watch the bus with malevolent intent. Mario squinted, trying to make sense of the eerie figures, but they melted back into the darkness whenever he focused on them. Nervous whispers filled the bus, and some passengers exchanged worried glances. A young woman in the back row, her eyes wide with fear, spoke up. "Did anyone else see those shadows? What's going on?" Mario glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "Just stay calm. Probably just some tricks of the light. We'll be out of the woods soon." But as the bus emerged from the forest, the unsettling occurrences only escalated. The road stretched out before them, but the darkness seemed to cling to the bus like a malevolent force. Mario's hands trembled on the steering wheel as he tried to focus on the road ahead. Suddenly, the bus lurched to a halt. The passengers were thrown forward in their seats, and a collective gasp echoed through the cabin. Mario frantically tried to restart the engine, but it remained stubbornly silent. Panic set in among the passengers as they realized they were stranded in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by an oppressive darkness that seemed to close in on them. Mario stepped outside to check the engine, his flashlight cutting through the night. As he lifted the hood, a chilling wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the distant sounds of haunting laughter. Mario's breath caught in his throat as he scanned the empty road. He could have sworn he saw shadowy figures lurking just beyond the reach of his flashlight. Back on the bus, the passengers huddled together, their eyes wide with fear. The air inside the bus felt thick, suffocating, as if unseen eyes were watching their every move. The young woman from the back row clutched her phone, attempting to call for help, but there was no signal. Minutes stretched into an eternity as Mario worked frantically to fix the bus. Just when the silence became unbearable, a low, guttural growl echoed from the darkness. The passengers turned to each other, their faces pale, searching for an explanation. Mario, his hands shaking, returned to the bus. "I can't figure out what's wrong. We might have to walk to the nearest town. It's not too far from here." As the passengers reluctantly disembarked, the oppressive darkness seemed to press down on them. The road stretched ahead, an unending ribbon of uncertainty. The group walked in tense silence, their footsteps echoing in the eerie quiet. The growls persisted, growing louder and more menacing. Shadows danced at the edge of the flashlight beams, and the passengers quickened their pace, their hearts pounding in their chests. The distant laughter from the woods followed them like a sinister soundtrack. Suddenly, the group came to a clearing, and there, under the pale glow of the moon, stood a dilapidated bus terminal. Relief washed over the passengers as they hurried towards the flickering lights of the station. As they entered the terminal, a disheveled figure emerged from the shadows. A station attendant, his eyes wide with terror, warned them in a hushed voice, "You shouldn't have come here. This place is cursed. The shadows, they follow you." The passengers exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that the darkness that had plagued them on the road was not left behind. The station attendant led them to a dimly lit waiting area, where the air felt heavy with an unspoken dread. As the passengers settled in, the young woman from the back row spoke up, her voice trembling. "What do you mean, cursed? What's happening?" The station attendant sighed, his gaze haunted. "Long ago, a bus met with a terrible accident on this road. The souls of the lost passengers are said to linger here, trapped between this world and the next. Those shadows you saw are their restless spirits." A chill ran down the passengers' spines as they listened to the station attendant's grim tale. The growls and laughter outside the terminal seemed to intensify, as if the spirits were angered by the intrusion. Mario, who had been quiet throughout the explanation, stepped forward. "We need to leave. We can't stay here." But before anyone could react, the lights in the terminal flickered and went out. The passengers were plunged into darkness, and the growls and laughter closed in, surrounding them from all sides. In the pitch-black silence, a voice whispered, "Leave now, while you still can." Panic set in, and the passengers fumbled for their phones, trying to use their screens as makeshift flashlights. As the feeble light revealed the terrified faces of the group, a ghastly figure materialized in the corner of the room, a spectral apparition with hollow eyes and an anguished expression. The passengers screamed, stumbling over each other in their frantic attempt to escape. Mario, his instincts kicking in, led the way as they rushed towards the exit. The growls and laughter echoed through the terminal, a cacophony of tortured souls. As the group burst out into the night, they were met with a chilling sight. The bus, now wreathed in shadows, stood before them like a gateway to the underworld. The spectral figures closed in, their moans and wails filling the air. Mario, his resolve steeled, shouted, "Get back on the bus. We need to leave this place." With a collective gasp, the passengers scrambled back onto the bus. Mario, his hands trembling, turned the key in the ignition. The engine roared to life, and the headlights pierced through the darkness. As the bus sped away from the haunted terminal, the passengers dared to glance out of the windows. The spectral figures retreated into the shadows, their anguished cries fading into the night. The oppressive darkness that had clung to the bus lifted, and a collective sigh of relief swept through the cabin. The road ahead, once shrouded in uncertainty, now stretched out before them, a path to safety. The passengers, shaken but alive, exchanged grateful glances. Mario, his eyes fixed on the road, muttered to himself, "We made it. We're safe now." Little did they know that the shadows of that fateful night would forever linger in the recesses of their minds, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can descend when the road takes an unexpected turn.